Dad, I'm sick. Can you tell me a story?
Sure, my little violent one. Sit on the couch and I'll tell you one to cheer you up.
Get your stinky feet out of my face. I'm sick, I don't want to die.
Stop you too. I call this story Goldilocks and the Three Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a father. He was a single father, a brave military officer who took on a battalion of 2,000 Hessians and defeated them with his bare pinky.
Get on with the story already. I'm not getting any younger.
Okay, geez. Anyways, before I was so rudely interrupted. This brave soldier had 3 children. Their names were Violent A, my sweet little angel-faced darling, and let me see, what would a good name be? Let me think. Oh, yay, Jonathan.
Dad, why you gotta put that idiot in the story? You know I'm sick, right?
Well, just let me tell the story, okay? Anyways, before I was so rudely interrupted, again. This father made some clam chowder, and it was delicious. Maybe 5 Michelin stars. People from miles around would come and eat the chowder. Okay, geez. Anyways, Jonathan took a bite and it was so hot that he began to cry. Violenta got up and looked at him and said,
Stop crying.
So the 4 of them packed it up to take a walk to allow probably the best clam chowder west of the international dateline to cool off. A few minutes later this little brat came to the house. Her name was Goldilocks and she thought she owned the place. She knocked on the door but no one answered, so she screamed,
Put on in a mo.
Then she kicked the door down. She then went into the kitchen where the world's best clam chowder was cooling off, and being greedy, she dove for the biggest bowl and it was too hot. So she said,
Put on in a mo.
As she threw the bowl across the room. She then sat down and ate the smaller bowl, but it was too cold, so she said,
Put on in a mo.
So she then sat down and ate Jonathan's bowl of clam chowder, which was at the best temperature to bring out the savory clam broth that would make all chefs in the world envious. She ate it all. Then she wanted to go and sit down to watch the 172-inch flat-screen TV in the living room and live stream some movies from Crab Shack Flicks for $24.99 a month. So she sat in the big chair, but it was too hard, so she stood up and said,
Put on in a mo.
So she turned and walked to the smaller chair and sat down, but it was too soft. So she stood up and said,
Put on in a mo.
So she turned and stormed to the little chair and sat in it, and it was just right. But she was too heavy and the chair broke beneath her, so she stood up and said,
Put on in a mo.
Now her blood was boiling. So she wanted to take a nap. So she went to Violet's room and laid in her bed, but the bed was too hard, so she said,
Put on in a mo.
As she skid-addled to my sweet little angel-faced darling's room. When she arrived in my sweet little angel-faced darling's room, she laid down and discovered the bed was too soft. She stood up and she said,
Put on in a mo.
So she stormed out of the room and made a beeline to Jonathan's room. There she found the bed just right and she fell asleep. About this time, the family was coming home so they could enjoy a marvelous bowl of the best clam chowder in the world, but they noticed the door had been kicked in. They cautiously went into the kitchen. Violenta was ready to kick ass and eat Tahoe, but she was all out of Tahoe. When they got to the kitchen, Violenta said,
Someone was eating my chowder and threw it against the wall. When I find out who it was, I'm going to have to their ass. Nobody throws my chowder up against the wall.
Then my sweet little angel-faced darling said,
Someone ate my chowder and threw it against the wall. My life is ruined. Gigi, kick their ass for me too.
Then Jonathan, who hadn't stopped crying since he burnt his tongue at the beginning of the story, said,
Someone ate all my chowder up.
With Violent A in the lead and ready to kick ass because she is out of Tahoe, they went to the living room.
Somebody was sitting in my chair.
Someone was sitting in my chair. Gigi, kick their ass. They didn't have permission and I hope they used sanitizer.
Someone sat in my chair and broke it.
With the amount of cash and gold in the house, the children ran to the rooms. Violenta ran into her room and said,
Someone's been in my bed. And it's wet.
My sweet little angel-faced darling ran into her room and said,
Someone was sleeping in my bed and it's wet.
Jonathan ran into his room and said, Someone has been sleeping in my bed and there she is.
The father called the police and she was arrested and taken to the Wiscasset State Pen for Women. She was charged with breaking and entering, theft, clam chowder abuse, burglary, being 5,150 and swearing in public a third-degree petty charge in the Wiscasset city limits. Crab Shack don't play that. The end. Oh, I guess they fell asleep. I'll get them a blanket and let them sleep there. Good night everyone.
Thank you for joining this week. Please come back next week for more exciting episodes. As always, please like and subscribe. See you next week.